everybody too for joining us today. I was glad to see those poll results. So first of all, thanks everybody for taking some time out of your day. I know everybody's getting back from Thanksgiving vacation, so I'm sure everybody's busy, and I do appreciate you guys spending some time with us to take a look at what Power BI can do and how you guys can use it within your departments and use it as a self-service tool to get some control of your data. First of all, my name is Brad Gall. I'm a lead consultant here with Pragmatic Works, and you can see my contact information there on the screen. You can email me at bgall@pragmaticworks.com. I do have a blog, bradgall.com, where I'll put the slide deck up probably by the end of the day today. I'll have this slide deck up and out there. And I have a Twitter handle, bradgallsql. Not super active on there. I'm trying to work on that, but you can follow me out there as well. A little bit more about me. Yep.
I can see your GoToWebinar control panel on your screen.
Okay, let me see it. If that helps.
There we go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yep, thanks.
Yep, thank you. A little bit more about me. I've worked with Microsoft Data Platform for over 10 years now, back with SQL 2000 and SharePoint 2003 and on up through Power BI and SQL 2016 and Azure SQL, SQL DW, things like that. I like to speak at user groups and webinars. I currently reside in Jacksonville with my wife and 2 children. That's me in the Hulk mask there on the right. And I'm a diehard Packer fan, so I was very happy with the game last night. Let's see here. So our agenda for today, I was happy with the poll results because we're going to keep it pretty high level and pretty introductory for Power BI today, not getting into anything very specific, but mostly showing you how easily you can get started with Power BI as a self-service tool. So if you're a data analyst and you are kind of waiting to get your data from IT, this could be a tool that you could use to get some visualizations out to your coworkers or maybe your managers without having to involve IT as much as you had to previously. Now with that agenda, we're going to talk about what Power BI is. So we're going to start with some slides and talk a little bit about what Power BI is, talk about what self-service reporting is and how that means, what that means to your organization, and then we're going to look at Power BI, the software, and the service, the overview of it all. So I still come across some clients that are a little confused about Power BI as a whole of what it is, and the fact that it's a software as a service product, really what that means and what the desktop is. So we'll do a quick overview of all the different products that are make up a part of the Power BI ecosystem as it stands today. The bulk of our time we'll spend with a demo, and we're going to have some fun today. We're going to play with some football data actually and some salary data, connect it, integrate it, and then publish it out to our Power BI site. And of course we'll have some time for questions at the end. So let's start with what Power BI is. Let's start first of all with that, with the fact that I think there's a lot of confusion out there with Power BI. Actually, I did a webinar about 1.5 years ago on where does Power BI fit in your data organization. It's gotten a lot better since that time. But if you haven't really looked at Power BI or the Microsoft self-service stuff in about a year or 1.5 years, it's changed quite a bit. And so from that change comes some confusion, and part of that is from the fact that Power BI actually evolved out of some Excel add-ins. So a lot of people still refer to that and get kind of confused of what the Power BI tool is. Is it part of Excel? Is it not? It's been going on over a year now. It's become its own product within Microsoft. It did evolve, and you can still see the remnants of the add-ins that were in Excel. Some more confusion, though, about what Power BI is kind of revolves around where does it fit with the other Microsoft reporting tools. And we actually just had a webinar recently, I believe, by Sean Warwick here, who did kind of a comparison between SSRS Mobile and Power BI. So there's a lot of products out there from Microsoft that all kind of overlap in some ways and have their strengths and weaknesses across each other. So I think it's really good to just do an overview like this of Power BI, just to see the product as a whole, and so you can compare maybe with your other experiences with reporting tools. Some of that confusion, like I said, also comes from the fact that it's a self-service BI tool, and that can be somewhat of a new concept. It's starting to become a little longer in the tooth as we evolve as an IT industry. But self-service BI hasn't made it into all of the different organizations yet, and so it can be kind of a new concept to some, which is confusing for some organizations. And then even more so, the fact that it's a software as a service is still very new for a lot of companies. The fact that it runs in the cloud, something that adds to the confusion of it. So again, we're going to stick with a high-level overview of Power BI and all the pieces you need to get started and running with it. Now, if we compare Power BI to the other Microsoft reporting tools, Power BI is really Microsoft's interactive self-service reporting tool. So interactive is a key with this tool. It's very much like Tableau. It's like I said at the bottom there of the slide, we can compare it with Tableau and ClickSense, where as you click on certain elements within the reporting canvas, other things will react to it. So it's Microsoft's most interactive tool in that respect. And all of that actually gets built for you, making it a very good self-service tool. We're not going to have to set up a bunch of code behind the scenes to get this up and running. Now if we compare that to the traditional tools like SSRS, SSRS still has a place, and it's going to be something more for paginated reports. We need those what we like to call them here at PragmaticWorks is pixel perfect reports. We need them to print really well, and we need them very specifically laid out. Those are going to be things that our IT is going to probably develop for us and put out there. SSRS Mobile is new with 2016 SQL Server. This is where we can do some dashboards in mobile. There's quite a bit of overlap between Power BI and the new SSRS Mobile dashboards. I think that's going to get cleared up as time goes on. Really, for which tool is the best for you, you're probably going to want to take a look at both of them. And if you are completely adverse to the cloud, that's really where SSRS Mobile comes into play. It's on-premise only. If you're not afraid of the cloud, if you're okay with the software as a service model, really, I think Power BI is going to be your best bet, and as you'll see today, it's a really nice tool. And then we still have Excel with analytical reporting, and Excel and analytical reporting plays nicely with Power BI actually. The PowerBI.com service, as we'll see today, you're actually able to upload some Excel documents and publish screenshots of Excel documents out there within the portal and have it all come together there. Now Power BI is a self-service tool. And really, what does that mean? Microsoft geared this towards business analysts and power users. Out from the gate, it was built first for power users to be able to go and wrangle up some data and create visualizations on it. It wasn't built as an enterprise tool first, and then they tacked on some self-service stuff. Really, from its roots, it's made for power users. They tried to make the experience as familiar as possible with Excel, so that it'd be a familiar experience to you. If you have come from Excel, which the majority of us have. And really, as a whole, what Power BI allows us to do is we can pull in data from multiple sources. We can transform that data a bit, again, without any code. We can model the data, and what I mean by that is relate multiple sources of data together, and then we can create visualizations on it. We add all that up together. What that really hopefully means for us is no more copying and pasting. So time and time again, every company, I believe every company has this, where we have analysts who are going and pulling down an SSRS report that our IT has built for us just to copy and paste it into Excel, run some pivot tables on that, and maybe copy and paste that into another source, and ultimately get the charts that we're really looking for. What Power BI helps us with this is the ability to just go connect directly to the sources, pull the data right into Excel, and skip those copying and pasting steps there. It runs on an engine that's very fast. It's the transform tool is very easy to use, and so it just makes for a much better approach to gathering our data. The key to this is just working with your IT group to get the access to the data you need, explaining to them what you need to do, and then be able to do it on your own, getting your training and digging into the product. Now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Power BI is a software as a service. So really what that means is that the PowerBI.com is the site that runs up in the cloud, and that's really where we're going to get all the collaboration that we need. The on-prem implementation is possibly coming in the future. We're not sure when that's going to come, but again, you're going to have to be okay with running Power BI in the cloud if you're going to want to use the collaboration pieces of Power BI. The good thing about that is that there's no servers to set up. So we don't have to have a big IT budget and then a bunch of time for implementing servers and spinning all that those type of things up just to get it set up and running with Power BI. And actually, since it's not a what's called a platform as a service, where we actually have to administer the product itself, it's an easy implementation in the cloud as well. Really, you're just using the software that Microsoft has in the cloud already. We're just setting up logins, pumping our data up there, and getting up and going. So it's another good fit for this being a self-service product, running it as a software as a service in the cloud. Now, I mentioned just a second ago you're going to have to work with IT somewhat to use this. It is a self-service product, but there are some things that you're going to have to work with IT on to really be successful with this, and a few of those are going to be getting access. So first, you probably need to get permission to pump your data out into the cloud. Some companies still have some data governance policies around not putting it out there. That has gotten better and better month by month. Microsoft keeps validating their product for things like HIPAA and all kinds of different compliances now, where they are compliant with regulatory authorities for you to save your data out there. But still, you need to check and make sure that you're allowed to do that before you go throwing a bunch of data out there. And then we're also going to need to work with IT to get access to our data sources. So if we're going to skip over the whole copying and pasting of our SSRS report, hopefully we can work with our IT group and maybe get our developer to give us access to maybe a view against our SQL databases or whatever data source we have to be able to just power query the data right into Power BI. If you end up going with a pro license for PowerBI.com, you're going to need to work with your IT group more than likely on that too, just to get the licensing set up. It's not expensive. It's $10 a month per user, but that's usually tied to your enterprise agreement, and so you'll probably end up working with them for that. And also for the Azure Gateway setup. So we'll look at that here in a little bit, what that means exactly, but it's something they're probably going to set up for you too when you go to the cloud with this. And then finally, training. Chances are that maybe your IT group is already using Power BI or looking at it, and they might be a good resource for you to go talk to about either getting some third-party training or having them kind of ramp you up to speed on Power BI and how they plan on using it within the organization. Power BI software and services now. We're going to look at the tools that are involved with Power BI, so everything you need to get up and running with Power BI. Here's where some confusion comes in, I think. So traditionally, we're all used to a software product installed on our desktop, and that does exist here with Power BI, and that's called the Power BI Desktop. That tool is completely free. You can go download it from PowerBI.com right now and use it, and that's what we're going to use today. Create some visuals, save those, and use those on-prem within our organization. That's really only half, maybe even less than half of really what you get with Power BI through the service. So PowerBI.com is the software as a service aspect of Power BI. And this is where we're going to upload our reports and our data sets once we've created them for people to go look at them. So this is how we collaborate on them. We can create dashboards so we can integrate them together, things like that. We also gain some other things along with that too. There's a couple tools that go along with the PowerBI.com, and those are going to be our on-premise data gateway. So that's going to be how we connect our data that's within our organization to our PowerBI.com. It's just a software application we have to install. There's also a Power BI publisher for Excel, which is a little plugin we can add to Excel. It's a nice little tool where we can just select a range of cells and publish them out to a dashboard, just as a quick way to, again, to show a nice dashboard maybe of a chart we just created and we want to share with other people. There's also a custom visual gallery and a mobile application. We'll get to that here in 1 second. One thing I want to stop and talk about first, though, is the licensing for Power BI. So right now there's a free and a pro license. So the desktop is completely free. So the Power BI desktop you can download for free. You don't need any licensing, anything along those lines. With PowerBI.com, it's limited with the free version. So with the free version, you get 1 gigabyte of data that you can pump up into their service. Excuse me. With a pro version, you get up to 10 gigs per user. Along with that, also there is some other things that the pro licensing provides, like collaboration. So you're not going to be able to do a whole lot of the collaboration stuff with PowerBI.com unless you get the pro license. We also get more data source options, so we're actually not going to be able to connect back to, say, like SQL servers or any data sources like that unless we get the pro license. What we can do, though, is connect to things like Excel files and CSV files without having to pay for that license. And our refresh frequency is limited, so we only get refreshes once per day with the free license. We can go up to, I believe it's up to 6 times per day now, maybe a little more than that with the pro license. And again, that pro license is $10 per month. So you can get pretty far with the free license. You can definitely do proof of concepts, but then more than likely when you get to that collaboration step, we're going to go ahead and purchase that pro license. Now Power BI Desktop, just a little bit more of a look at that, is it's really our development environment. So really Power BI Desktop is where we're going to go and start our development of our visualizations and matching up of our data. And really it's 3 tools in one. It's with that tool we're going to go get our data, so we're going to query it out of our different sources. We're going to model that data and relate it together. And then we're going to visualize that data and we're going to report on it. That's really the ultimate goal we want to get to, is those visualizations. So we can take that CSV, maybe get some insight into it and be able to show that to other people. The Power BI Desktop output can be saved as a .pbix file. You can save those on your file server and share them internally without having to use the PowerBI.com site. When we publish them to the site, though, they're interactive within the web browser. A little bit more on the PowerBI.com service. So this provides you a reporting portal is another thing this provides for you. So we'll be able to, users can go hit the portal and see the different dashboards and reports that are available to them, click through them, play with those. On the PowerBI.com site, it really consists of different workspaces. So by default, with the free account, you're going to get your My Workspace, quote unquote My Workspace. With the Pro version, when you go to that enterprise level a view of the world, you can have multiple workspaces where you can work with people together within those workspaces. Now within a workspace, we're going to have data sets, we're going to have reports, and we're going to have dashboards. The dashboards are only created within PowerBI.com. So if you only play with the desktop product, you're not going to see what the dashboards look like out there on PowerBI.com. But the reports and data sets will be created from what we publish from the Power BI desktop. So again, Power BI and Excel files are published there. We can publish Excel files there if we'd like to. And we can also consume content packs from third parties. So another thing we can do with the service is, say if you have some Google Analytics or if you have Dynamic CRM, those type of services out there have provided content packs where you can just go log into it, pull it into your PowerBI.com, and they give you a little canned set of reports and dashboards that you can use just to start visualizing data right away. A little bit more on the service. It provides our collaboration. So again, once it's out there, we can share it to other people. We can share it outside of our organization if we really wanted to. And it provides our data refresh. So we're able to set up a scheduled refresh of our data sources once they're saved out to PowerBI.com. It also provides a few additional things that are kind of nice and handy. A lot of people kind of overlook them, I feel like. We get Q&A, which is really a common language query language for asking questions of our data. So we can just say things like, hey, what was the top product last month by sales? And it'll search through our data and run the queries for us. So your users don't actually have to be able to write a where clause or any type of query, just be able to go search our data. And all that's built right into the service. It's a really handy feature. It also does something called Quick Insights. It's fairly new. When you upload a data set, it'll actually pan through your data set and just run some real basic algorithms on it and try and see if there's any relations in the data, things like that. Then we also get analyzed in Excel. So once we've published a PowerBI.com data set, we can actually view it within Excel, and if some of our users are more comfortable analyzing the data in Excel pivot tables still, they could do that based off the data sets we create. Now the on-premise gateway, I mentioned, is what we need to connect our desktop files to our PowerBI.com site. Really, this is just a product that installs either on a desktop or a server. Again, it's required for connecting to our on-premise data sources, really for our scheduled refresh. So we could just publish a file out there. It's going to have all of our data in it, but in order for that data to be able to refresh from the latest copies, it's going to need this gateway to get from the Microsoft data centers into our enterprise. There's two installation types, but there's one installer now. So there's a personal installation type and an enterprise. If you're just getting started out and you're trying this out within your department, you could probably just use the personal, install it on your desktop, and get it up and running. The enterprise type is more one that you would set up with your IT group, where you're going to install it on a server and have multiple, basically the entire enterprise go through that one gateway. Custom Visuals Gallery, I mentioned we'd get to that here in a second. This is another nice thing with Power BI that some people overlook. It's a free gallery of data visuals that we can use to extend the visuals that are already canned and built into Power BI. It's community driven, and by that I mean third parties have written a lot of these custom visuals and provided them to Microsoft, and Microsoft has decided to publish them out into this data visual gallery. We're going to look at that today and pull one in so you can see how you can go play with those and extend Power BI even more. That's the web URL for pulling down those data visuals. So it's just app.powerbi.com visuals. And we'll take a look at that in the demos more, which we'll do right now actually. So let's go ahead and hop over to our demos. And the first thing I'm going to do is take you out here to powerbi.com and show you how to get to the downloads. So if you just go to powerbi.com, if you haven't already downloaded the desktop, you can sign in for free. So I'm just going to sign in, but to sign up, really all you need is an email address. As long as your email address isn't something like Hotmail or Gmail, you just need a company-based email address. You can get a free login and sign up for powerbi.com. They also don't support .gov or .military, I believe, at the moment. That may be coming at some point, but as long as you have a corporate email address or even a .edu email address, you can get signed up for free here. I'm just going to sign in so you can see once you're signed in. Switch over to my workspace real quickly. But once you're signed in, one of the ways, hopefully my Zoomit's going to cooperate today. It is not. It does not like that. All right, we'll try this one. All right, my Zoomit does not like this presentation screen, so we'll have to go without it. But up here in the top right-hand corner, let me try one more thing. Nope. All right. Sorry about this, 1 second. Okay. So up here in the top right hand corner, you'll see we have this download button, and if once you're logged in, you can click on this. You'll find that we have the Power BI desktop. You can get to your data gateways to download those. We also have Power BI for mobile, which really just takes you to a link to go download the mobile app, which we can view all of the reports we create on the mobile app out here. If we hadn't logged in, we can get to the downloads as well. If we just do, if we hit powerbi.com, I believe, sorry about this, get started for free. Once you click get started for free, you can download the Power BI desktop for Windows. So you can do that without even having to sign in at all. If you download that, you can start off with the Power BI desktop. And once you get that installed, I'm just going to launch it right here. We're going to go pull in some data. Just take 1 second for it to open up. We get the splash screen when we first log in. For today, I'm just going to close that so I can show you where to go connect to get your data if you happen to close that. Real quick tour. It's based off of all Microsoft products that have the Office ribbon. So again, a nice familiar interface for those power users in your organization or those on the call. So we have the Office ribbon up here at the top. We have the Home, View, Modeling. Over here on the left, we have 3 tabs. We have what's going to become our Relationships tab. This is where we're going to model our data. And then this is our visualization screen. We're probably going to spend the most time on the visualization screen. But it's important to note the different screens to click through there. Now, right now I don't have any data. So to connect to some data, up here in my Office ribbon under the External Data section, I'm going to click on Connect or Get Data, and you can see there's a lot of different sources I can connect to. To give you your most common ones here, click on More. I'll get even more. So we can pull from JSON files. If you have Oracle databases, you can connect to those. We can connect to our Azure sources if we're using those. For today, what I'm going to connect to is just an Excel file. It's probably what most of us, when we start off playing with things, have is Excel data, so we're going to connect to that. So we're going to connect to data. Let's go grab some data. So what we're going to start off with is I have some salary data for NFL quarterbacks for 2016. So this is just straight money for this year alone given to NFL quarterbacks. When I connect to that Excel file, I can either pull in the sheet or the table. I'm just going to grab the table that I have saved in there. And I have 2 options down here at the bottom. I can either load it or I can go in and edit it. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. What that's going to do is launch a new window where we can transform our data, kind of massage our data a little bit and get it to look the way we need it to look. Now within Power Query, which is what this is called, this came from Power Query within Excel, you can see over here on the right-hand side a list of applied steps. So as I'm making changes to my data, it's going to list the steps over here on the right. Again, I don't have to type any code at all. Just as I'm clicking around, it's going to change things for me. So I can click on salary here. Really on this one, there's not a lot I need to change. I have, maybe I want to split up this name. I want to see first and last name split up on there. So if I wanted to do that, for instance, I could right-click on name. I could do, there's a lot of options here for that. What I'm going to do is duplicate the column so I get a second copy of it, and then I'm going to split the column up and to split off that last name. So I can right-click on name, split column, and I'm going to split it by a delimiter. Our delimiter is going to be space, so we have space there. Let's do it on the first, the leftmost, and click OK. So now I've split Drew and Breeze up and Andrew and Luck up, and I'm just going to delete this column because I didn't really want the first name, and I'm going to rename this to last name. So let's do rename column last name. So again, split up the data so that if this came from some source or I can't really go and edit or request a change there, or it's just really difficult to get that changed up, I can control that myself here within Power Query. It's one of the things that sets Power BI apart from some of the other tools. I think this is a more powerful engine than, say, Tableau gives you for changing the data once you get it into Power BI. I'm also going to give that a name. I'm going to call this quarterback salaries, and it's just for 2016, so I'll put 2016 on there. And the last thing I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to go get some more data. So if we look within our data set here, we can see for team, we just have this abbreviation. So we just have Washington or NYG for the Giants. I want some, I know I have a table that I can connect to that gives me a little bit more information on those different teams. So I'm going to do that by pulling in a new source. I'm going to click on new source. I'm going to pull in a CSV file that I have saved out here. So I have this Teams file. I'm going to pull this in. It's going to give me a preview of my file. Everything looks good there. I'm going to click OK. And then what you'll notice over here on the left-hand side is it created a second query for me now. So I have my original Excel file that I pulled in with the salary data. Now I have a second query with my team data. I'm going to rename this guy too because Team Extended doesn't really sound all that good. So let's call it NFL Teams. And we're going to edit this guy a little bit. The first thing you'll notice is that it didn't realize what the column, that my first row was column names. So this again, a real quick edit under transform. I have use first row as header. So I can click that. That transforms that. The other thing I want to clear out of here is I have some bad data. This UNK is really a row I don't need, I don't want in my data set. I want to pull that out. So I can click on the little drop down here and I can see filter out whatever rows I don't like here. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck UNK, click OK on that, and that filters that guy out of my set too. So again, some real basic real basic transformations just to clean up the data and make it look a little prettier. Last step. Again, I'm in this query editor window, not within the Power BI visualization area. To get back to my visualization, I'm going to click Close and Apply. So that should have loaded my data. You can see now on the right-hand side, I have the two tables. I have my NFL teams and I have my quarterback salaries. If I go back to those tabs I pointed out at the beginning, and I click on my relationships, you can see the two tables are here, and I want to relate these two tables. So I know that that team ID within my NFL teams is actually that same abbreviation that I have within my quarterback salaries. So if I just drag those two things over the top of each other, you'll see it creates a relationship for me there. So now whenever I use columns from within NFL teams, it knows the relationship to the quarterback salaries automatically for me. If I go back up my list of tabs here, I can see the data now within my NFL teams screen again. I'm going to click on the quarterback salaries for 2016. And really on this screen, I just want to give this data, the salary data, a data type. So right now it's whole number. I want to let them know that this is a salary. So I'm going to go with format, and I'm going to change this to English, United States, make that look a little prettier. So that now when I come back over to my my report tab and I go and select salary, you can see it's designated as a salary there with a $sign for me. Now when I click on it, it automatically picked a visualization for me, a bar chart. And it's just showing me what's the total salary of all the quarterbacks I have in there. So we're just over $500 million of quarterback salaries in the NFL. That tells me something, but not a whole lot. I really want to slice this up, and let's see what the salaries are by team. So if I go to NFL teams, because I connected and created that relationship, I can actually go with the team name instead of that abbreviation. Oops, sorry, click that. So I have to keep my bar chart highlighted. I can click on name. Now it splits my data up over the different teams I have available. So nice visualization. This is now much easier to see who are the teams that are paying the most to their quarterbacks. So the Titans way down here compared to our Saints. So almost a 10 times difference you can see from this visualization that we created just out of a CSV file. Now just to make this a little bit more interactive, what I'm going to do is I want to see kind of how this splits up maybe by conference. So we have two conferences in the NFL. We have the AFC and the NFC. And I'm going to turn this into a slicer. So to begin with, all I did was click in the white space. I clicked on conference. That created a new visualization for me. Over here on the right-hand side, out of the different visualizations I could choose, I could put this as a bar chart, or I could turn this into a card. But what I want to do is use the slicer visualization. Now what that does is turn this into a slicer, similar to what you get within Excel. And you can see as I'm clicking on those two things, it's slicing up my data on the bottom right. Now that looks pretty nice, but not the prettiest of slicers. So what I want to do now is I want to pull in a custom visualization. So I told you there's a lot of custom visualizations out on the gallery. I'm going to go pull one of those in and pretty that up a little bit more. So we're going to go out to our apps.powerbi.com. So app.powerbi.com/visuals. And here's a list of all the different visuals that you can download for free. Each one of these tiles is a different visual. They give you a little description when you click on one about what it is and what it does. There's one in particular that I use quite a bit, so we're going to use that one today. It's called the Chiclet Slicer. If you scroll down a little over halfway, you'll find the Chiclet Slicer down here on the left. So if I just click on that, I'm going to say download it, agree to the licensing, and that just downloads the PBViz file. Now if I click on that file, it's just going to say, hey, I don't know what to do with this. I don't have a program associated with it. To use that, what I'm going to do is go back into my desktop. I'm going to click on the little ellipsis under visualizations, and I'm going to import a custom visualization. So if I click on the import button, and I'm going to go over to downloads, and there's the download I just did, and it says my visualization was added. So now you can see it added this new button here for under visualizations with my slicer highlighted. I'm going to click on that chiclet slicer, convert that into a different slicer. So now I have these buttons, which is a little bit better looking for my users, but we can extend that even a little further. This particular visualization supports pictures, which I so happen to have within this data set. So we are going to grab our conference logo. I'm just going to click on that, and that goes under image. And then I have to pick a value, which is basically a way for it to tell if there are values available for the slicer or not. And we're just going to pick name, and it'll just do a count on name. So now I have a graphic here that users can slice on and slice up their data a little bit even more. The last step here that I want to do before I publish this is maybe I want to slice this by division as well. So we're going to add division, and I'm going to turn that into a chiclet slicer as well. Now we're slicing it by that. Looks good. So now we have two slicers. You can see everything interacts with each other. Everything interacts with the other pieces within this landscape. So as I click on NFC West, it changes the conference to just show NFC, and it changes all the teams to just show the team names. Now to get this, again, we're pretty basic here, but just for sake of time, just to get you through the beginning to end, we're going to publish this out to our PowerBI.com. So I can save this file. If I save this, I'll save it out to my downloads. Why not? Webinar demo. And it saves it as a .pbix file. So now I could email that or share that on a file share if I wanted to. But if I really want to collaborate with other users, I can click this publish button, and if I hadn't already logged in, it would ask me how to log in, or it would ask me for my login to PowerBI.com. It asks you which workspace you want to save it to, so I'm just going to click on my workspace and say select. And it's publishing it out to PowerBI.com. So it's successful, it's good. Now I can go open up my webinar, and I can also do this thing called Get Quick Insights. We'll take a look at that here in 1 second. I'm just going to say, got it. Oh, I wanted to say, we're going to go take a look at that now. Let's go here. If I click on my workspace, we should see in our workspace now, I have lots of stuff from other demos and things like that. But you can see we have a few things with stars next to it. Those are the things that we just published. So we published a webinar demo data set. That's going to be the data that we transformed and modeled and saved out there. And we have the report, the webinar demo report. Let's just go ahead and click on that report. And you can see this is the report that we just created and saved within our desktop files, now saved out here within app.powerbi.com. Now if I wanted to share that with other people, I could go under File, I'm sorry, I could go under I would have to, sorry, drawing blank for a second. I can add this to a dashboard and share that with other people. So I mentioned within the slide deck that we can create the data sets and the reports within Power BI Desktop. We can create dashboards within PowerBI.com. So I want to create a dashboard now out of this, and usually you would do this if you have multiple reports, and then you can have one dashboard that links to the multiple reports. But for sake of time today, we're just going to pin one thing out here. Oh, I have to edit. That's what's wrong. Sorry. So I had to switch to edit view. So when you're out here on the report, you have two views that you can look at the report with. You can do edit report or just reading view. So we're going to do edit report. And I can pin the whole page as a live page to a dashboard, or I can click on a visual and pin the visual to the dashboard too. We're just going to pin the whole live page. We're going to save it and pin it. we're going to create a new dashboard. Call this webinar demo 2. And now we should see webinar demo 2 as a dashboard out here within our dashboards. Now in the dashboards, these are, you can resize this around, move it around however you want. We can create new tiles out here as well. So I could create a tile. We'll just add a text box. Say next. We'll say this is our new dashboard. Check it out and apply. And I can move these around however I'd like to move them around on my dashboard there. That's all it takes to get it published. Last 2 things I want to show you for on the PowerBI.com site I mentioned are the Q&A and then Quick Insights. So I just want to show you those real quickly before I open up to open it up to questions. I know it went really quick. Again, just wanted to get a beginning to end, soup to nuts, how I can get some data and get it published out into PowerBI.com and let you see all the different pieces. So the last 2 pieces, once you've saved them out here, you'll notice that it has ask a question of your data up here above your dashboard. So once you've created a dashboard, it gives you this Q&A right there on the dashboard, and I can say what team had the highest salary, for instance. And it automatically created a bar chart for me listing all of my salaries and did that just from asking a question. I could say maybe we want to see this as a table. So I didn't like the fact that it turned it into a bar chart. I want to see the table value of that. You can see it turned it into a table automatically. And it also gives you some different things that you could maybe want to show it as. So maybe not as a table, we did it as a card. That one's not going to look quite as good here, but you get the idea. You don't have to be able to write queries to be able to interact with this data and just search it and filter it down. You can just hand type in common language questions and PowerBI.com service filters through your data and does that for you. Now the last thing is the Quick Insights. So our webinar demo data set over here on the left-hand side has the star next to it. If I click on that, we have things like schedule refresh and refresh now. This is where Analyze in Excel comes into play. We also have Quick Insights. So if I click on Quick Insights, it says that some are ready for us. If I had more data here, it would should have a lot more insights. This is a pretty small data set, but really it goes through and it just looks for correlations in our data. So one thing it found is that the average rank of our quarterback goes down as our salary goes down. It's because there's actually a one-to-one, a very strong relationship between those 2 things. And then it also has an average rank as it just found out that Teddy Bridgewater has noticeably more rank for Team ID Minnesota. So he makes a lot more than Sean Hill and Sam Bradford apparently. Or actually he's a higher rank, so he's actually way lower. Sorry about that, it's the opposite. He makes way less. So that's all I have for the demo. I know, again, kind of a whirlwind. Apologize for that, but let's open up for questions now at this time.
Sure. We use standard edition of SQL 2008. Do you know if Power BI will use this data?
Yeah, so absolutely. Power BI is pretty agnostic with its data sources, so it can connect to Oracle even, DB2, PostgreSQL, pretty much any type of database it'll connect to. Standard enterprise doesn't really matter.
For personal gateways, can you use it with on-premise data sources?
Yep, absolutely. That's the major role of that gateway is to be able to connect what we just saw in the PowerBI.com to on-premise data.
Is the Enterprise Gateway part of the Pro license, or is there an additional cost for licenses other than server hosting the gateway?
It is included with the Pro. So the only cost you're going to pay for everything we showed you here today is going to be the $10 a month. $10 per month per user. All the tools are included with that.
Can we connect to Hadoop data? If not, what's Microsoft Self-Service BI tool for big data?
You can. I believe Hadoop is one of the actual in the list. You can connect directly to Hadoop. You can definitely connect to the Azure, the HD Insights, and the Azure Data Lake offerings, which is the big data offering from Microsoft.
Does Power BI pull the data in its own engine like SSAS does, or does it run the queries on the source SQL server?
That's a great question. So it will do either or for your basic sources. Like connecting to a SQL server, you have an option when you connect to either direct query it or load it into its own engine. So you can do it either way.
Someone wants to know where they can find all the DAX formulas that are available in Power BI.
So all the DAX formulas, I would have to. When I post the slide deck later today, I could post a link to some good resources on the DAX. We have some on our blog, I know for a fact, on the Power BI, or on the Pragmatic Works blog, and the MSDN has some resources out there as well.
Okay. Can a data set be defined by a T-SQL statement or stored procedure?
Yes, absolutely. So if I had connected to a SQL database, it'll ask me for a table. There's just an advanced button at the bottom. I can expand and you could type out a query or just give it a view or a stored procedure name.
Sorry, I went back to the top. Someone wants to know why they would switch from Tableau to Power BI.
So that's a good question. So going from Tableau to Power BI, if you're already established with Tableau, you might not have a strong reason to go to Power BI. They're competing products. I know one of the biggest reasons from talking to a lot of customers is cost. So licensing from Tableau is a very expensive cost from what I understand. Power BI is the $10 per user, and so you save that cost there. The other reason would be integration with Microsoft products. So really with PowerBI.com is part of the Azure cloud with Microsoft, and so if your company is starting to look into getting into some of the Microsoft Azure products, there's going to be a lot of integration with things like Azure SQL Data Warehouse, with the new preview of analysis services in the cloud from Microsoft, things like that, because they're all Microsoft products and in the same ecosystem, they play a little bit nicer together.
Do you need a license to view and interact with a dashboard?
You do. You need either the free or the pro. So if I were to share that dashboard I just created with another user, so I could send it to someone else's email address, they're going to need to log into PowerBI.com to look at it. If you use pro features, they could sign into the trial, which I believe is 7 days, and view it for those 7 days without having to sign up for the pro license. Or if you just use like Excel files and CSV files, they wouldn't need the pro license either.
Can I restore the report a report if I've accidentally deleted it?
If you've accidentally deleted a report in the portal, there is not a restore option right now that I'm aware of. They did just add the ability to download reports. That actually just came out, I think, last week. In the service itself, you could see on the reports, when I clicked on, it has to be a new report. I can now download a copy of the report, and so you could back them up that way if you wanted to.
What additional metadata is required for the Q&A function to work properly?
So the more metadata you add to your data set, the better it's going to work. But really, you don't have to. I didn't have to do anything special to make that work. It just scans your data set. It scans the relationships, and it just works right out of the box. Now, that being said, the more columns I add to like that, for instance, we have the teams. If I add more stuff more columns to the teams, that gives it more data to work with as users are asking questions of it.
Someone wants to know if Power BI integrates with SharePoint Online.
It does not technically integrate with SharePoint Online. They've kind of moved away from the integration of the portal, the old Power BI portal within SharePoint.
Okay. I think that pretty much covers it. We might have a couple here and there, but I think we've pretty much gone over everything. If we happen to get some more questions that I happen to somehow overlook, I'll be sure to send them to Brad, and he can hopefully maybe post them along with his blog. If you have any more questions that you didn't get to post in the panel, please let me know. You can email me, Liz, or you can email Brad there on the screen. As always, this session was recorded, so you'll receive an email tomorrow with the link. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Brad, for joining us, and thank you, everybody else.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.